Good evening and welcome to this regular meeting of the Helotes City Council. And we're underway at 7 p.m. and it's Thursday, January 22nd, 2015. Before we get started on the agenda, I would like to ask if any of you have a cell phone or other electronic communication device, please turn it to off, silent, or vibrate so we won't have a bunch of phones ringing during the meeting. Also, if you have a need to text or visit with someone next to you, please take it into the hall or outside so it won't disturb the meeting. We certainly appreciate your cooperation. First up on the agenda is our invocation, and Councilmember Villanueva will be doing that tonight, and then we will have the pledge to the American and Texas flag. So if you would please stand for the invocation and pledges.
Dear Father, we thank you for everyone gathered here this evening. Thank you for knowing each of us by name and caused us to walk with you. As we proceed into this meeting, we ask that you guide us in the firm decisions made on behalf of our fellow citizens. We pray that your guidance fill our hearts with inspiration, fill our conversations with your grace and truth, and fill this meeting with your presence. We ask this for your glory and praise.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the
Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, next up on the agenda, we have a proclamation tonight, and it's concerning Teen Dating Violence Awareness and Prevention Month. We have some folks here from O'Connor High School, so if you all will come up front right here, we'll read the proclamation. Welcome. This says, Office of the Mayor, Helotes, Texas, Proclamation, Teen Dating Violence Awareness and Prevention Month. Whereas high school students who experience physical violence in a dating relationship are more likely to use drugs and alcohol, are at greater risk of suicide, and are much more likely to carry patterns of abuse into future relationships, and whereas only 33% of teens who are in abusive relationships ever tell anyone about the abuse, and 81% of parents surveyed either believe teen dating violence is not an issue or admit they do not know if it is one. And whereas nearly half of teens who experience dating violence report that incidents of abuse took place in a school building or on school grounds, and it is essential to raise community awareness and to provide training for teachers, counselors, and school staff so that they may recognize when youth are exhibiting signs of dating violence. And whereas the establishment of Teen Dating Violence Awareness and Prevention Month will benefit young people, their families, schools, and communities by providing young people with education about healthy relationships and relationship skills, and by promoting change in attitudes that tolerate violence, we recognize the incidence of dating violence might be reduced. Now therefore, I, Thomas A. Schoolcraft, on behalf of the members of the City Council, and by virtue of the authority vested in me as Mayor of the City of Helotes, Texas, do hereby proclaim the month of February as Teen Dating Violence Awareness and Prevention Month, and recognize the O'Connor PTSA for providing our youth education opportunities in support of healthy dating relationships. In witness whereof, I have set my hand here too. Congratulations. We appreciate you guys bringing this to our attention and asking for the proclamation. You bet. Did you want to say anything, Nope, good. It was a mouthful. I rehearsed. I usually like to look up, but this is small print and a lot of words, so I didn't really get to look up as much, but here's the proclamation, and congratulations again. Tell us when you're done. Okay? Thanks again.
Really?
Okay, next up, we have our Citizens to be Heard segment. Grace, did we have anyone sign up? We have no citizens that requested to speak, so we will go on to our consent agenda. I also wanted to acknowledge that we have some scouts here from Troop 484 that meet here in Helotes, and they're working on their citizenship merit badges. And so we welcome you guys at the end of the meeting. If you have any questions about what's been going on with the meeting that you don't understand, we'll be here for a few minutes, okay? The consent agenda in our kind of meeting here, the intention is to lump multiple items together that are considered fairly routine by not only the staff but me. And so the intent is for the council to make a motion in a second and take action on them as a group. Tonight we have items 4 through 7. The council does have the opportunity to ask a question on an item. If it can be answered fairly quickly, we will address that question. If there's a item on the consent agenda that they would like to have pulled for full discussion and debate, then they just merely have to ask for that to be pulled, and we'll pull it. So at this time, I'll ask council on the consent agenda, are there any items 4 through 7 that you have a question on or that you would like to have pulled for discussion? No? Okay, then I would ask for a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items 4 through 7 as written.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve consent agenda items 4 through 7 as written.
We have a motion from Fredericks. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second from Buys. So a motion from Fredericks and a second from Buys. And since there were no questions or requests for debate, I'll go to the vote and say all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carries. Consent agenda items 4 through 7 are approved. That takes us to item number 8, items for individual consideration. This is an item that we had on our last agenda, and it was postponed until tonight, and it is a new ordinance pertaining to the maintenance bonds required for commercial and residential developments from this point forward. So I would ask for an opening to the discussion and possible action by a motion and a second, please.
Mayor, I make a motion we discuss and take action on agenda item number 8.
We have a motion from Buys. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Blue. Bert, it's your motion, so you're up first on discussion.
I'd like to ask Rick a couple of questions. Is that all right?
Sure.
Well, this is kind of trivial. I meant to call you earlier, but in the whereas paragraph, the infamous whereas paragraph,
Yes, sir.
in the first sentence, it says, whereas under the provisions of City of Helotes, shouldn't it be provisions of the City of Helotes? I'm just
We can add that.
Yeah, I'd like that added, if that's okay. And then, why was the 1-year time frame removed in this next paragraph down?
If you recall, council desired that we go back and try to clarify some of the language and have the city attorney review it to make sure that it complied with state law. We did that. It was his, after his review, he struck the 1 year and put in for a period of time designated essentially by the city engineer and myself. What we plan on doing with this is creating an internal policy after we discuss what that time frame should or should not be for commercial developments versus residential developments, then put that policy in place. And so it may very well differ depending on the type of construction that's occurring.
So it could be more than 1 year, that's why it was.
Could be more than 1
That's-
year, could
okay.
be less, depending on what he believes, in his expert opinion, that that time period should be.
Okay, that's what I thought it was, I just wanted to make sure. That's all I had, Mayor.
Okay, Alex?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Rick, same question I had. And so the attorney is of the opinion that putting it in a policy versus the ordinance is more defensible? I mean, because sometimes we get the developers and other builders who come up and say, well, it's not in your ordinance and therefore we're not subject to that. And then we look at the ordinance and we wonder, you know, then we have to kind of back off on it. And
It's-
having it in the ordinance makes it, to me, very clear that from 1 year after the completion of the final phase of the project, they have to be able to guarantee that and provide that bond, but,
I think the issue that we're having is the 1 year time frame, because every situation in construction can be different depending on the type of improvements that they're putting in. And so what we're asking for here is some wiggle room, if you will, depending on that type of construction, for us to determine at a staff level what should be or should not be that length of time. The fact that he reviewed it and has no issues with it would lead me to believe that he believes that it is defensible.
Okay.
I would equate it to the same thing as the investment officer that defers a significant amount of authority from council to the investment officers to make decisions based upon the funds that we have and the investments that we make. Of course, the ultimate responsibility is on y'all's shoulders, and so you can hold us accountable if you believe that we made a wrong decision, and I would say the same thing would happen here. Also, remember that all contractors would have the ability to appeal to council as a last resort if they so desire.
thank you.
Ed,
I'm good,
you good?
no question.
Paul?
I guess my question is there gonna be a standard for residential and a standard for commercial? That they know they have to follow that, or is it gonna be in flux for each project?
No, we will come up with a standard for residential and commercial, but that policy will be structured in the sense that because council is deferring its authority to the city engineer and to myself, that in the end, something, we can vary from that policy if the situation fits, so to speak. But we will have a standard policy that says in most situations, 99% of them for residential or for commercial, it's this period of time after the last home is built or after the last structure in a complex is built.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Cynthia?
No.
No question. I had brought up the same question because it bothered me that we didn't have a time frame in there. And in looking at it, commercial projects, most of them that we'll experience will most likely be completed within a year. And so it would be easy to hold that maintenance bond for at least 12 months. And some residential developments like the New Leaf subdivision coming in could take 5 to 7 years. So that's why, like Rick said, it's kind of a loosely worded thing. Gives us a little more latitude on that.
Yeah.
And we'll designate in that policy commercial versus residential. They won't mix. So it might be a little different.
And also remember that no official can unreasonably withhold, as the mayor put it today, can unreasonably withhold approval for something. They can then appeal at the council level or district court level or something beyond if they need to, if it gets to that point. So we're bound by that unreasonable withholding of approvals as well. And so it comes down to what the city engineer in his expert opinion believes is reasonable, coupled with my knowledge of this as well as what we believe is reasonable. And hopefully that it will pass the sniff test. And if it doesn't, they can always appeal it to council if they need to.
Okay. Any follow-up? None? Okay, then we'll go to the question. All in favor of item 8, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. And by golly, that's the end of our agenda. So, this doesn't quite set a speed record for a meeting, but you guys picked a good one to come to. We hope you enjoyed it, and we did get the business of the city that's pending right now completed. So that being done, I will ask if there's any objections to adjourning, and if there are none, we will adjourn at 7:15.